Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Liz from Blue and Hazel. If you are new here, welcome. I have 4 kiddos in 5th grade, 4th grade, 2nd grade, and a preschooler this year. So in today's video, I wanted to just give you an update on how things have been going. So we are following a Charlotte Mason homeschool. If you're new here, this is our 2nd year doing that, and we're for the most part following Ambleside Online, but we have made some pretty just like adjustments, I guess, pretty big adjustments maybe for some of you guys, but we've tried to adjust it this year for our family. Last year I tried to do it more by the book, and it was a little bit overwhelming, especially having the ages that we did last year. This year we have a little bit more independence in my older 2 kids, and just a better understanding of what's working for our family. And so I'm trying to hold more to some of the principles and not necessarily worry as much about following all of the book list choices. And so if you're wondering why I'm filming in my car today, it's because I was planning to go skiing. My big 3 are in lessons today for a homeschool ski program, and I just rushed out without my coat, without my ski pass, without my snow boots. I don't know what I was thinking. I got them all ready, and I have a friend watching my preschooler today, so very thankful for that. But now I have 2 hours to film and do whatever. So trying to make some content because it's hard to get quiet time at my house. If you're new here, I'd love to have you subscribe. Also be sure to hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. So just as an overview, I feel like this year has gone so much better. We're about halfway through term 2, so about halfway through the year. There are 3 terms in Ambleside Online's schedule. And so I feel like we've done a pretty good job this year at just figuring out what is working for our family, tweaking the things we need to tweak. And there are some things that I have dropped the ball on. You know, Shakespeare was one of those things I just didn't get to, and we did last year. I think I just didn't pull it out enough and let it sit. And so I'd like to bring that in again for the second half of this year. The kids did enjoy it last year. Nature study is another one of those things I just didn't do a great job with. And so you know, that I want to change because I do love when my kids are learning about these different topics. And so that's okay. There's room for those things. Sometimes I think at the end of a term, that's a really good time to assess, why didn't I get to those things? What am I missing out on that I want to bring back? Or what did we not benefit from that I think we can drop? And so I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but those are the 2 things that I do really want to see brought back into our life and into our routine. And so things we did together, let me go ahead and tell you that first of all. This is something that we did most every day, I would say around 4 to 5 school days a week. We did our together time, hymn and folk song, and the way that we did that was just around the couch together. I printed out packets, actually, that was new for us this year, with the words on them, and then we used the Folks and Hymn YouTube channel. That's another Ambleside Online mom who films herself singing the songs and playing the melody on her guitar. She's amazing, and she's really helped us with some of the new songs that I don't know. So at the beginning of a month, basically we will just turn her channel on and listen to the one folk song and the one hymn song and sing along as best we can using the printed out sheet. So that really helped this year. I wish we would have printed those words out last year and tapped into her channel, because that just helped get us to do it without feeling like, oh, I don't know the melody. We read a poem or 2 from the Ambleside Online anthology. We just used Year 3's book, but really you could pick any poems that you wanted. It's just that's the book that we're working through. The goal there is just enjoying the beauty of poems, not memorizing, not worrying about, you know, breaking them apart, just listening to them. So it goes very fast. And then we had also been doing one Agermeyer's Bible story, and then usually like 10 to 15 minutes, or as long as I can kind of see their attention lasting for, of our read aloud. And so one of the things that worked well this year, for our read aloud, we pulled one of my 5th graders' literature reads. So we were reading King Arthur is what we've been doing, and basically at the end of that now. And the kids really liked that story. I had never read about King Arthur. We have enjoyed the Old English. It's very weird at first, but that was just a really fun way to kind of combine my 5th and 4th grader. My 2nd grader would come in and out, and sometimes he was just a really big help for playing with my preschooler, and I would let him go play. Other times he would listen in, depending on kind of what the day looked like. And so he didn't get all of it, but it's also a little above his head as far as reading level goes. My 4th and 5th grader loved it, listened in, and it lightened the load for my 5th grader. So I wasn't requiring narrations of him for his literature reads, or my 4th grader. That was one kind of compromise that I decided to make this year, and that has helped lighten their narration load a little bit. And so I think it was on Simply Charlotte Mason's website where they recommend narrating all your school readings except for literature reads. So I just went along with that as a way to decrease the number of narrations we were doing and to really try to keep the literature reads just more enjoyable. And so I'm happy with that. We're going to continue not narrating our literature reads, but we will narrate other school readings. The other thing that also bringing my 5th grader's literature read into our family time did is I decided not to read my 4th grader's literature read out loud to her, which was Robinson Crusoe. So that lightened our day and that lightened her school load, but she kind of listened in on Robinson Crusoe last year. So I thought, there's so many other good books. Let's just pick another one. Robinson Crusoe was great, but I'm also happy not to read it 2 years in a row. So that was our morning time. Then we'd pretty much move on, and the kids would each start doing their own year's worth of stuff and whatever they could do. And I would work with one kid while the others did something independent. And starting with my 5th grader, he pretty much reads all of his own school books this year. It's amazing, besides King Arthur right now. And then I'm actually doing Wild Animals I Have Known, which is their natural history book. I'm having my 4th and 5th grader listen to that, and so I've been reading that out loud to them. So she is listening along, my 5th grader's listening along. I'm not having them narrate from that book, and I'm fine with that. I just want them to listen to the stories. I am having them narrate from all of their other books, but the ones that I'm reading out loud for Wild Animals I Have Known and their literature reads, I'm not having them narrate. And so that's been really nice because it's made it so that they're narrating about three narrations per day probably, but not like 5 or 6. So I really like how that has cut down on their narrations. They're still doing it every day, just not like an excessive amount, which kind of feels like by the time you get into 5th grade, it's a lot of narrations every day if you're narrating every school reading, because the books do pick up. And he is doing 1 written narration per week right now. So we waited for 4th grade to just learn how to do oral narrations all year. That was our very first year doing Charlotte Mason homeschool, and so I just wanted him to practice that. And then at the very end of the year, he did written narrations. So I feel like right now, halfway through 5th grade, he is actually ready to bump up to like an extra written narration per week. And so we'll probably aim for that next. The other things that he's been doing for his 5th grade year, he's been keeping a memory book. So once a month, we are doing like a paragraph and a picture of something that you remember that was a highlight for that year. That's just going to be a sweet keepsake, I think. And then we've basically dropped copywork for him and for my 4th grader because they're doing some form of writing every day. So, one of the days they're doing a written narration. A couple of the other days they're doing a spelling lesson from All About Spelling. And that usually includes some kind of dictation where I'm reading off a few of the sentences that are using some of the spelling rules that they've learned, and then they're writing them in a notebook. And so if they're doing, 5 or 6 sentences from All About Spelling, I'm fine with not having them do copywork in addition to that. So between the written narrations and All About Spelling dictation, and then also we are doing Fix-It grammar. And so my 4th and 5th grader are starting on book 1, and I think they're like in week 9 of Fix-It grammar. So we haven't done it, all the way through. I feel like we took a big gap like in December and just never picked it back up. So we're going to keep on going with that, but Fix-It grammar has been really great for them. And I think they don't find it too overwhelming. It's 1 sentence a day. They have to edit it. They have to identify the different points of grammar that they've learned and then rewrite the sentence. And then the last thing my 5th grader's doing that has been working really well this year is Math Mammoth. We switched from Singapore math, and that has been the best thing for our year. Last year was really painful And I made the decision to try something more independent for him, which I think we just really needed for our relationship. He needed mom not to teach him math and to not be frustrated at me for his math. And so Math Mammoth has just done a great job of like letting him take control. He can kind of teach himself. It has example problems, and there are free videos from the creator Maria if we need to watch. He can do that. We've only done that a few times though, because I did start him back in 4th grade or level 4 Math Mammoth. So not necessarily beginner 4th grade math, but some of it was review that we saw last year. And so he's kind of probably 2/3 the way done with level 4, about halfway through the year. So we might hit level 5 by the end of this year. I just didn't want there to be any gaps in the crossover. I didn't want him to be frustrated crossing over because he needed more review of the old stuff. So I think it was the right level to start on. Kind of moving on to my 4th grader's year, she has been doing so great. I can't believe how many books she's able to read on her own this year, and that kind of just blows my mind because last year I thought I'm going to read all of her 4th grade books to her. This is going to be a lot more on me. Not realizing how much more my 5th grader was going to read to himself, not realizing how big of a jump in reading my 4th grader this year has made. So she's doing George Washington's World on her own, Men of the Mississippi on her own. She read Poor Richard on her own. And so she's really increasing what she's doing on her own, and that frees me up a ton. And so I think that's a big part of what's made this year better. We have dropped, like I said, Robinson Crusoe from her reading list, and so she wasn't doing that literature reading with me, which I would have read to her out loud. Instead, we're doing family style with the 5th grade reading of King Arthur, and so next year I'm not going to read that to her. We'll pick something else for her. There's plenty of books out there that we don't have time for, so I'm not worried about which one. That's just worked really, really well. That's cut something out of her list that she doesn't have to spend time doing. Storybook of Science, we've kind of shipped out to audio using our Yodo. So I found a free LibriVox recording of that, made an audio for her on the Yodo card. I have a video on how I do that. I will put in the description for you. And she follows along in her book. I ask her to look along in her book. I don't know if she always does that, but that has lightened her load of what she has to read. And then as far as some of the other books that I'm reading to her, I usually read This Country of Ours to her because it's longer, it's full of a lot of information, and she just doesn't want to read that one to herself yet. I'm also reading Abigail Adams to her, and so that's one that we ended up dropping with my son last year, like a third the way in. He just really didn't want to read it. She's enjoying it, and so I'm reading that out loud to her. It is a little bit more of a feminine book, and I think maybe more relatable in a feminine way, and so maybe that's why she's enjoying it more. I don't know. And then my 4th grader is also doing all about spelling, and she is flying through that. I am very glad that we waited till 4th grade. I have a whole video on why we waited. I will put in the description for you as well. For the most part, that's been one of the ways that she's getting handwriting in. She's also doing a written narration per week, and one thing interesting about her I've noticed is that she likes to write. She's just pretty naturally gifted, I think, at writing. And so her narrations written down are much longer than my 5th grader's narrations written down, although his oral narrations are way longer than hers, which is interesting. So she's doing that. She's also loving Fix-It grammar. I feel like that's kind of her jam. She's also doing the memory books. So that's something that all my kids are doing, and has just been adding elements of writing, I guess, into our day. I would like to find some ways to add in some free writes, or to add in some more creative writing. I just haven't scheduled that in, but I do think like it'd be fun to get to see some of their story making abilities, because I kind of look back through some of the things that my mom saved for me, and at their age I was writing a lot of creative stories. They are not, and so I'd like to kind of encourage them to do that, or require something of them in that way. That's more or less her time. She spends a ton of time crafting, a ton of time making things. She loves listening to Harry Potter. That's her big one right now. And then one of the things that she's been doing 20 minutes a day is reading The Princess and Curdie, which is book 2 from Princess and the Goblin, which was a required read last year. I need to challenge my 5th grader to put that on his schedule. I've been way too lax, and honestly that just fell through the cracks of having him do a 20-minute a day free read. And I think that's because he's taking longer to do his reads every day than she is. So he's already doing school what feels like a lot longer than her. And so I just been kind of dropping his extra free read book, but I do think that those are more enjoyable and he wouldn't be narrating from that anyways. Probably need to take away the Calvin and Hobbes for a while, or say this is for evening times, because he gets majorly off track and distracted with Calvin and Hobbes. He loves Calvin and Hobbes, pretty much has like all 3 volumes memorized right now. And so I think that is probably what's taking up the free read time that I should be having him do. But yeah, so now on to my second grader. He's doing awesome. His concentration level has gone up a ton this year. He's able to sit and listen to 2, sometimes 3 pages of Our Island story. He's narrating big chunks back to me from that, which last year was painful. It was like either tears or, Mom, I don't know, or I can't remember anything, or just like the last thing from the last thing that I read, he'd narrate. And he's doing awesome this year. So really proud of him. He can do 2 pages from his printing. It's called Printing Power from Handwriting Without Tears. So that's kind of been his copy work. Oh, and then another thing that my second grader has been doing that I've allowed him to do is to listen to his book, the Burgess Animal book, on audio without narrating. He didn't want to listen to the audio that I had on a Yodo card for him. So I was like, you know what? How about you just listen to this one and you don't have to narrate from it. I just want you to enjoy it. And he actually loves it, but he would not give it a shot previously. Like, he would not listen to it on audio. He only wanted to listen to me. And to be honest, I just feel like that's a book I don't enjoy reading out loud. And I just feel like my time could be used in other ways and with other kids. And if it's possible for him to listen to the audio, I'd really like him to. So he's not narrating from that. He's enjoying it. He's almost through the whole book. So I'll probably do that again with another book of some kind when he finishes. Just something that he can listen to and not narrate from. I really, really appreciate him helping me out in that way, as long as he's still getting some practice orally narrating every day. Now, I know that the books that he narrates, he's going to remember the information from those books better. And I'm okay with strategically not having him narrate the book, Burgess Animal book. I feel like he can remember some things. I also want him to just enjoy it. But if he doesn't remember all of the little facts from it, or even some of the facts, I also feel like that's okay with me. I'd rather. And then my second grader is also still in process of learning how to read and to become a confident reader. And we're trying to figure that out for him, because I feel like he knows how to read, but he's really struggling to make the jump in forgetting some of those things that he's learned in How to Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. So I did 100 Easy Lessons with him all the way through. Then we went back through the last 50 lessons because it just felt like reading was still really hard. Now that was easier for him than the first time, but I feel like the jump to regular books has been tricky. And so I'm not really sure whether I need to just keep reading to him and having him practice easy readers, or if I need to maybe try a different reading program. Like All About Reading was recommended to me. I'm just not sure yet. He's still very much, doing a lot of the rhyming books and the ones that don't have too many words on a page. And I just want to get him bumped up in his reading level, but we just haven't necessarily had this type of struggle with my first 2, who seemed to learn to read in a pretty conventional way and pretty quickly. I think the second half of my year is going to be really focused on him, getting him up to snuff with reading and getting him not to be afraid of reading. So one other huge change this year for us has been my preschooler has been doing 2 mornings a week at preschool. And I would say that's been one of the best things I've ever done, ever. It's changed our homeschool so much. I know in the back of my head, if we have a bad day, that we're going to have a Tuesday morning and a Thursday morning coming to catch up. The house is quiet. We can do lots of read alouds. There's no interruption. It's just amazing. And so he also gets kind of that special treatment that I don't have time for with 3 older school-aged kids. Somebody's doing crafts with him, somebody's doing songs with him, snack time, playtime. It's just really special that he gets that, when I feel like I am not being very intentional with him sometimes, because I'm trying to get the older kids through their school day. And so that's just been a really great thing for our family. And I do feel like we have been doing a poor job getting started in the days, and that's probably on me. I need to wake up my 5th grader. He would happily start his day at 10 if he could, and that just pushes him too late in the afternoon to get stuff done. My 4th grader wakes up right away, starts her schoolwork. She's done really pretty quickly. I'd say 2 to 3 hours, and she's got her school knocked out of the way. And my 2nd grader, he is on and off kind of whenever I'm available. Anyways, that's kind of our year wrapped up so far. And if you like these videos, please give this a thumbs up. Let me know if you want me to do another one of these at the end of the year. I'm happy to do another update on that, just how things have been going. And let me know in the comments, what's one thing that you feel like is going well in your homeschool, and what's one thing you feel like you never get to that you want to get to and just haven't been. I'd love to hear that. So thanks for watching, and till next time.